Hello and welcome to the Unofficial Controller Podcast, your weekly gaming podcast, episode 111, the best recreated worlds and video game locations with me, George, and this week joined again by the Scarlet Pimpernel, aka Tom, who's the perfect recreation of life to my model village on a budget of 50p. So you can imagine that's loads of empty PG tips boxes that literally haven't even been turned
Blue
inside
Peter
out.
version made at home.
But worse.
But worse.
The kind that Anthea Turner makes before she goes to the one that she made earlier.
What about Richard Bacon during his busy days?
I don't want to talk about Richard.
Okay.
That's dangerous. Anyway, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm very well.
Some would say it's been an age. Others would say it was a week. Some would say your return to the show forced a hiatus.
Maybe.
Not true. We wanted holiday.
Okay.
I wanted some time off.
Some time. Well-deserved time off.
It's been a couple of years.
It has. You man of dedication to the show.
They dedicate to me. I dedicate to them.
We are
solid values. We are
in the Sir Isaac Newton wing of Ponsonbury Manor.
Well, I don't want to bring it up too soon, but I'm getting very comfortable here because it seems after the events a couple of Christmases ago at Christmas, in that maelstrom that was the crash. And if you've missed that episode, go back and check it out. I forget what it's called, but just look at the first ever Christmas special. You'll work it out. Ponsonbury was injured, as we know.
Nearly fatally.
But what we didn't know is all of his heirs, bar me, were in the car park that day.
Wow.
Yes.
How convenient.
And the peerage have been on, as have the palace.
Oh.
And I am now apparently heir apparent to the Ponsonbury estate.
What's going on?
5th Lord Ponsonbury. Or is it 6th? Could be 6th. I don't know. They're going to tell me all the details.
Will you get a big oil painting is the question.
That's... He's already been on. That family's already been on. They want to do it. They're pretty keen. They've seen all the peerage stuff. They think it's going to happen. So then we'll move into Ponsonbury estate. I don't know what you're going to do. Probably launch a very nasty, evil tirade to get me stripped of my official title and then move to you. I've got the money, George. You see, it looks better on me. Anyway, if you're a new fan of the show, don't worry. This isn't Downton Abbey. Well, it could well be. This isn't Downton Abbey with video games. It's video games with Downton Abbey. But we're going to give you a rundown. Downtown
Farmer Town.
I don't know what's happened to you. He's just come up on whatever it is, his cowpole. We must give them new and old a rundown of how the show's going to go.
We should.
Coming up, we've got the news. In there, Tom, a bit of news that should get people excited.
Yeah, a couple of bits.
Anything in there that you choose to tease them back in with?
No, we'll keep it a surprise this week.
There's a man who hasn't pre-read the script like a true professional he tells us he is. After that, we go to the feature, which was one of Tom's choosing. And I have to say I'm quite into the idea.
Well, that's where my work went this week, you see.
Don't you worry.
Into the feature.
Half-assed written WhatsApp to me with an episode title in it. Do your best. I will. This feature's called Best Recreated Worlds in Video Game Locations. I probably got that wrong. I posted a picture of Red Dead. But to be fair, I wanted something beautiful. And it is almost a recreation of America.
Yeah, I think
it's stylized.
Broad spectrum we've cast out.
Let's not spend too long labouring on my mistakes because I'm the only person that noticed. After that, we've got the real deal. The Stingray's coming up the drive. He's going to show us the back of his boot so we can pick some new releases. Yeah. You want to do a new game? I don't know about that. Maybe we'll just read them out. I ain't got time for you. Then the show ends when I ask Tom what he's hoping to play, but it cannot begin. It cannot begin. And I'm not going to ask anyone to do anything or prepare or ask Goddess to do something. I'm just going to ask you, Tom, what have you been playing?
I'll tell you what I haven't been playing. Last time I spoke, I played a Plague Tale.
Too retro for you?
Almost. I just reached the point where I missed a couple of days of playing it, and then
too old.
Yeah, for new listeners to the show, I don't anything past probably a month old. I tend to give a wide berth,
which is very odd.
It's a bit harsh, I know, but Anyway, I went to play a Plague's Tale, and I quite enjoyed what I played, but I left it for a few days, and I just couldn't find the urge to get back into it. The gameplay is a bit samey. I think there's a lot of people who really love it, and what I played was impressive, but just didn't hook me enough to warrant going back into that. And I did get the downloadable content for Streets of Rage 4.
Oh,
the Mr. X Nightmare, very good. The survival mode is a lot of fun, especially with a friend. I don't think anyone's actually completed it yet, or no one knows what the highest level is that you can get to. But
I have a question for you.
Okay.
It's fresh from the Discord.
Right.
Very fresh. The Gaming Gram says, any news on when the latest episode will be up? Recording it now.
Hungry. They're hungry. I told you we could afford to get that big fancy espresso machine for the Brian Epstein wing.
I haven't inherited anything yet. I'm literally sleeping under the stairs in a sleeping bag.
Is it going to be more of a Jeffrey Epstein wing? Or was that was that the flat in New York?
Good luck explaining this to a minor. The only PG podcast in gaming. Tell me, what else have you been playing apart from that DLC drivel? What and this Plague Tale game?
I've revisited Returnal, which has been enjoyable. I've been doing a new game through to get there is like a hidden ending that you can get through playing it through twice.
So when you do New Game Plus, do you keep all of your upgrades, or is it back to the beginning?
You get the permanent upgrades you keep,
but the other ones reset.
Like every time,
yeah.
So your unlocks on the weapons, like I found going through this time a bit easier because a lot of the stuff I'd unlocked for the Hollow Seeker, the rifle with a massive magazine. I found I'd like the portal beam for that. It made some of the bosses so easy, especially the third biome one, which is quite notoriously difficult. I was very close to dying, but luckily the portal beam saw me through to the end. But yeah, I've been enjoying that. It's a very well-made, addictive game, I think. I'm excited to see what they do next on the PlayStation.
Well, now they're a proper PlayStation Studio team.
Yeah, maybe they'll get a few extra resources.
Well, they've said that they want to be more Returnal games going. Not exactly that style, which is very much their style. The whole sort of do the dash move and all that sort of stuff. It is exactly as you've seen in Resogun and Alien Nation and other ones. But, they threaten to do, well, hopefully they don't, but more traditional PlayStation Studio title, which we don't need any more of those. And I think that's
a good point.
I want to see some diversification.
Returnal is quite different. I think whether that was reflected in the sales, though, with people going, PlayStation exclusive, but this will be like a big open world, like sci-fi shooter, when really it's not. But it's still a fantastic game.
I saw some sales figures, and considering it's only on PlayStation 5 and it's not a PlayStation 4 legacy game, it's done really, really well. The attach rate for that's fantastic. Now, whether people bought it and it's now sitting on the trading shelves up and down the UK, I don't know.
I suppose the bonus is having limited competition on the PS5 at the moment, because there isn't loads out for it. You've got your PS4, as you say, legacy games that are
it's a good time to broaden your and as a player to broaden your horizons a little bit. Back in the day, people with PS2s probably weren't into beat 'em ups, but they bought Bouncer in their millions because it was all they had.
They did.
So, I mean, I don't know what to say about that, but there you go. I've not been playing Bouncer.
I thought you were about to go on a retro nostalgic trip.
Well, my what you've been playing, which you're not going to ask me to do, so I'm going to do it anyway. Because you never ask me. I tell you what, I'm gonna rock the very foundation of your world. I finished Ratchet and Clank. I have been nibbling at that as it's the very last of the petty cash.
Yes.
So I was trying to stretch it out. Annoyingly, I've got to go back through and do a couple of things which I didn't realise. Well, I do know one of them was linked and locked, trophy, but I don't have to go too far to get it back. And that would be the Platinum one, would imagine. I've also been playing Microsoft Flight Simulator quite a lot.
How are you playing that?
James, the work experience boy.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
made sure we've got everything.
Oh.
This is a modern game show, so we have all the formats.
What does he think to that?
Me and Bobby made a bit of a prediction about Flight Simulator, and sadly, it's kind of coming a bit true. Now, it's impressive. It is. I'm not going to deny that. And I'm a simulator guy. You know me. And I had a reasonable amount of fun flying over Lincolnshire, pointing things out. Like, oh, yeah, look at that. It's impressive. Well, it's not exactly right, but for what it is, it's doing a great job. Flying the plane, they'd made it relatively easy to map some of the most simpler controls through to the button on a controller. And, yeah, I was having fun. We even got a little seaplane going around some tropical islands, and we had a good time. But we've not really been back on it since, because I think we kind of did everything that we really wanted to do.
Now, I heard you have to buy certain planes for it, so you get the base game and then a lot of it's add-on.
Do you know what?
You didn't find
I didn't even look. We wanted the Cessna to start with because it was a simple plane to fly.
Yeah.
So we chose that and basically stuck to that. We then had a Cessna with some floats on, which was equally as interesting and different to use.
Yeah.
Which we thought was good. And then as my patience was dwindling, James took up a 707 or whatever and did a loop with that. And it was all, like I say, the presentation of it, the menus, the way it looks, it's super slick. If you're not really a simulator person, I think great that it's on Games Pass. Get your teeth into it, have a play. It's not cost you down near $70.
Yeah.
So it's been a pretty harmless experience. I'm sure there's some people who laughed and ummed, got it on Games Pass and haven't been off it. And they've probably got some wire and a scarf. They've probably got some goggles on. Wearing that.
Full immersion or nothing.
Full immersion or nothing.
Full emulsion.
Full emulsion. Cover me in paint. I want to feel every single nuance. So yeah, I thought that was good. It could probably do with padding out. Do I think it would be for you? Probably not.
For me?
Yeah.
What about the Top Gun update?
When and if that's coming, I think you'd be interested for about 10 minutes and then you'll be on to whatever it is you want to next. I think you need to be a proper sim person. Right. There is some arcadey elements of taking off and flying around, but the thing with it is it's not Ace Combat. It's a lot more real than that. So you don't need to be doing much in a Cessna for it to start stalling. You don't need to be doing much in a Cessna for it to fall out of the sky.
Right.
And that's realism.
Yeah, yeah.
But whether that's annoys you when you're trying to swoop low over the Ponsonbury estate and take pictures on the screen, that might be annoying. Tell you what else I've been playing. So Microsoft Flight Simulator, highly recommend it, but it does come with those caveats of, unless you're a pilot, you're probably going to get pretty bored. I know there's people out there that are probably still playing it, raving about it, probably question my sanity and my opinion as always. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for. I'm just telling you how I experienced it. I've been playing a lot of Minecraft Dungeons as well. What a great little game. That's that little dungeon explorer. And you can play it split screen as well, which is an absolute joy. There's not enough couch co-op stuff going on. So plenty of that. Thoroughly impressed with it. I didn't know what to make of it to start with. But
it does look very slick and well presented. I saw the first trailer, and that was it.
It could have been. It could have been a dungeon crawler for literally any franchise you wanted it to be. But they decided to bolt Minecraft on it because it's got a lot of appeal.
Oh, yeah, massive.
And the weapons and the things that you do in there, they're kind of cool. But they've tried to put a Minecraft spin on it. But all that aside, all my sort of like, oh, wow, you can't build. Yeah, park all that. If you've got Games Pass and you've got a young child or a brother or a sister or whatever, and you want to sit down and play some fun Minecraft-themed activities, you could do no wrong at all giving that a go. Obviously, it's on all of the formats as well, but you have to buy it.
Yeah, I think it is a bit lacking nowadays with the couch co-op, especially more mainstream ones.
I was really
big license like Minecraft bolted to it. They should maybe look at that a little bit more.
I was stoked to see that it was couch co-op.
Because I play online games, I enjoy the odd night I do play, but I think there definitely needs to be more of the couch co-op. I'm excited to see that Turtles game. Just thinking of Streets of Rage, that'll be a good couch co-op beat 'em up.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Do you like video games, podcasts, and reminiscing? I'm actor, video game writer, and total sweetie pie Connor Savage McCabe, and on each episode of Call Me By Your Game, I sit down with a guest for an intimate look at a special game from their past. Did you and your dad beat Spyro the Dragon over the holidays? Or was Halo 4 the one thing that united your roommates during your senior year of college? Stories like these are what Call Me By Your Game is about. From video game content creator Janet Garcia to Hades voice actor Courtney Vinay's, I interview wonderful comedians and game industry friends about these memories. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts, and maybe someday you'll call me by your game.
Yeah, I think so. I think that by the time that comes out, as long as it is couch co-op, I think the appetite for that will be high.
Have you heard what they said as well, that company? Because they recently got bought by another larger company. I'm really bad. I should know who that is, but I don't.
Come here for all the scoops.
Yeah.
Some company, a slightly larger company than the one that was being bought a company, and they said thank you. What did they say?
They said they would like to visit more 80s films or series because they don't feel they're well represented enough. So things like Terminator and Indiana Jones they mentioned.
Terminator already has
Conan.
countless 16-bit games, and quite what could
Yeah,
they do
I don't
with
really
that?
know what they were
Why
saying.
did they pick these franchises? It's
When they
not
said
gonna-
Terminator, I found that quite strange because I've been on a bit of a Terminator binge watch recently, and I thought nearly bought Resistance, and then I was like, no, just wait, it will come to.
Which is your favourite Terminator film?
2. It by a mile. 1 is really dark, and it gave me nightmares when I first watched it when I was a child.
One, I think, is the...
It's terrifying. When he goes in the police station, it's just like to see that as a very... I was probably only 10 or 11, but seeing that and seeing the place where you think you are ultimately safe, and then it's just decimated by the Terminator.
My issue is that I was target audience for Terminator 2 when it came out. I should have been right at the front of the queue.
Because they lowered it down to 15, didn't they?
Wanting all the figures and all that. But for me, Terminator 2, it's a good film. And it's probably the one I liked when I was youngest. But once I started work and buying videos and appreciating film a bit more, I immediately gravitated towards 1. And I saw 2. Bo Belova's probably going to send me a private message because it's his favourite film.
2. Phenomenal
We
film.
have come to blows about this before. It feels like the sum of its parts when you actually watch it in retrospect. Terminator 1 is a very dark, gritty adult movie based around some very mature themes and storylines, very dark. Terminator 2, it feels like George Lucas is involved, and it's whatever can we sell the kids next. Get the Edward Furlong toy, get the motorbike toy, get the T1000 sculpting kit so we can morph through wires and we can melt him down and put him back in the bioengineering system. Let's have him.
T2 is a blockbuster by every word.
It's more Independence Day than it is Oscar winner.
When I was growing up, the staples for a sleepover: T2, Independence Day, Men in Black, Jurassic Park, Under Siege, stuff like that. Big Saturday night blockbuster.
We've scoured the very darkest reaches of the internet to bring you the latest stories. First up, I don't know. That's enough of your talk. It's just retro indulgence at this point. You remember how it goes. You've got to read out the first bit of script.
You spin me right round.
Now, that was lost with my American cousin Bobby. I always had to kick him to read the headline. I don't think they have headlines in American news. Not like that, anyway.
Like a sort of tabloid newspaper.
Yeah, I don't think they have them in America. I don't know. Maybe do.
Unfortunately, we have them over here. There's so much to do in GTA Online these days that you can quite comfortably play it for the rest of your life and still fail to unlock everything it has to offer. It's not stopping some industrious players from strapping rubber bands to their controller analog sticks in order to grind out tuner RP in the new Los Santos car meet. Here's the thing. The Los Santos Tuners update adds a brand new progression bar with 1,000 levels. There are some really cool cosmetics locked behind these ranks, including new clothes and car modifications. However, the only way to earn it is by competing in the new street race series, test driving vehicles in the parking lot, and, well, walking around Los Santos car meet a lot. Seeing as 15 minutes of inactivity will boot you from a GTA Online lobby, sneaky players have figured out if they tape up their controllers, they can continue to grind out tuner RP even when they're away from their console. The result, of course, is utterly bizarre, especially when you end up in a lobby filled with people spinning in circles.
Now, have you seen this?
I did read
loads of people
headline,
excitedly going on GTA to check out this new thing, and they go into the room and everyone's just walking around in circles. It's
fantastic.
Super weird. If you put that in, people are going to abuse it.
Yeah.
Why have a car game that's based around walking to unlock progression?
Very strange.
Very odd. Strange. I don't know what to say about that. To be honest, I'm not keen on at this point, the zombie-like revival of GTA 5. Let it die. But no. Send it back to the lab. We'll wheel it out with a fresh coat of next gen.
I'll be there in November when it does get launched, more than likely. It depends what the upgrade is like. It has reached a point where it's like, when are they going to do a new one? Because is there any point? Because they keep updating this one.
I mean, it could just. Why don't they just call it GTA at this point and make it a live service game and just update?
The last rumor I heard was they'll update. They'll do 6, and it'll basically be an add-on to this expanded and enhanced edition of 5. So you'll be able to go between the two cities or locations. I don't know.
I'm about as interested in that as I am this small grey pebble that's been walked into the house.
If they did a campaign like that as well, it'd be quite interesting. But then you hear other rumours that it's set in certain decades, so that wouldn't work.
I don't think. I think if you're going to set it in a certain decade, and that decade's going to be the 80s, because everyone's crying, "Oh, Vice City was the best game I ever played." You didn't play more than 20 minutes of it, but whatever. Right? They're all saying Vice City, Vice City, Vice City. So the obvious route is to set it in the 80s. But I would say the majority of your new GTA Online players, based on my experience, are younger than 20 years old. I would argue to you that they're under 16 years old. I put it to you that they would have no clue really what the 80s are, nor do they care. They want to fly a rocket car around that map, regardless whether that's realistic or not.
Yeah.
They don't care. They just see the game as a bizarre, huge online playground that they can do whatever they want in. I mean, the people I've seen play it, they normally just burn up and down this one same stretch of road for no reasons.
I think the best thing they can do with it now is keep the online as it is, release 6 as just a campaign, just an old-fashioned GTA story mode, and then give the online a few more years and then integrate online into the GTA 6 location. Just be the easiest thing to do.
It does mean we've had the last GTA already, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, but 6 would be a problem.
No, it's not going to be, is it? How do you think someone like me is going to feel about this, about GTA 6, in your own words, being some sort of DLC for the next gen version?
Oh, no, that's a rumour. I'm saying like they release GTA 6 as a full game, like 5, but no online, and then add it on afterwards.
Well, the Hoosiers know where you are. I'm sure if they want to take you up on that, they'll give you a call. My question: is it 1999? Because Nintendo, known for having family-friendly image, but over the years it's played host to a number of titles featuring adult-only themes. I'm not talking Shadow Man. I'm talking more likely N64 Conker's Bad Fur Day. And the South Park series has also had an extensive history with the Nintendo platforms. The original South Park game, which was a first-person shooter, I remember it well. I bet that's not aged well. No. I agree with you at the time; it felt great, but now Because at the time, it really did feel like you were walking around the cartoon.
Yeah, it was very well done.
But now, having memories of playing N64 games recently, I
It's
think
an expansion pack game as well.
that's just saved it. That's just saved it.
Yeah,
That's
that
sort of,
extra horsepower.
sort of the graphics from Spectrum with barely functioning tape player to an N64 with a slightly dusted CRT. That's how we boost your graphics back in the day. Well, have you cleaned the screen later? No. It's clean. That's so sharp. Tech. Right. The original made its debut on N64 in 98/99. Since then, there's been a handful of other games released, some of which are even available on the Switch. Now, an update, a Bloomberg report has mentioned how the show's creators, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, are working on a new 3D entry. Now, I think I saw an evolution of this story. But at the time of writing the script, there was no more news. Jason Schreier, one of the most reliable reporters out there in the business, his colleague has been informed it will be developed by South Park's own internal studio, but Ubisoft may not be necessarily be involved. The game is under development by an in-house studio, Stone told Bloomberg's Lucas Shaw in an email. Bloomberg also reached out to Ubisoft Entertainment SA, who published the recent RPG entries, and did not get a response back. Given the history Nintendo systems have for games based on the animated television series, there's seemingly a good chance for a future announcement will include a Nintendo platform, provided it's not another mobile game. Well, the good news is, I think we took another step towards that being confirmed today, so you'll be happy.
Yeah.
Did you play Stick of Truth?
No. Which is surprising because it looked really good. That did look like you are in the cartoon.
Did look like
It
you were
basically
in
are
the cartoon.
in an episode.
And I kept meaning to pick it up. I keep seeing it on PS3, relatively cheap.
Yeah.
Readily available in every CEX I walk in. So I suppose I ought to, really.
During 1999, I was probably a massive South Park fan.
You couldn't have been watching that then.
Yeah, it would have been. Last couple of years of secondary school.
Big boy walking around, a couple of Panda Pops. No, you didn't drink Panda Pops. You drank those ones with a lid that you had to smash the straw through. What were they called?
Clippo.
Anyone who turned up for gaming?
You didn't use the straw either. You turned it upside down, bite a little bit into it.
Oh, that's what you did in the second to last year of school. So that was your sort of symbol of maturity.
Yeah.
Gone are the straws. Don't give me a straw, dinner lady.
Smashing two together. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stone Cold Steve Calippo's.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Listen, I think that's the news.
It is the news.
Do you, dear listener, have an opinion or take on the news that we missed? And let's face it, at this point in time, we've probably missed the biggest stealth drop of a game in the history of gaming. Now you're back on the show. News got good. It's all rumours. It's all leaks. If so, Tom, how would the collected masses get in contact with us and let us know that we're flaming galahs, but also at the same time, let us know that we are the highlight of their day?
You can reach us at questions at unofficial control podcast.
You made me nervous.
And you can direct messages on Instagram or Twitter.
Ooh. Where, if you were a fan of the show, you maybe felt a bit lonely, a little bit ostracised, where would you go?
I would email in.
No, you wouldn't.
I'd visit the Discord page.
Boom, 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 boom. Let me tell you about the Discord. We do this play-along game. And if you're not involved, you're not involved. And they do a little poll on there. I sometimes vote. I'm not very good at internet phone malarkey, I have to admit. I'm better than you.
Definitely better than me.
But I'm still not Boba Loba, not by a long chalk. But we pick a game, okay? And now we've been playing Me Understandy. We all play a game together, all right?
Okay.
And we try and pick one. We pick all formats. We try and pick something that's on Games Pass. We try and pick a retro game that most people might have for the most part. And currently we're playing, I don't know what the other one is, but the one that I'm most focused on, because I've got it and I love it, is Metropolis Street Racer, which is a legendary Dreamcast game built around stunning, especially for the time, recreations of real-world cities. Now, let me ask you, what's the most stunning recreated real-world location you've ever played?
What question? Been quite a few.
Well, it was a question you asked me to ask the audience on
It was,
WhatsApp.
yeah.
So I don't know why it's
I
crawled up in the grass, jumped out and slapped you across the face.
No, I've been thinking about it in the week because obviously
I think you're still stunned from that non-scripted, seamless link.
I am pretty stunned. That was the segue of segues. You could get on that and ride it around a city following a tour guide. It was that much of a segue. So
it took me a while to get it, but now I know a segway's a mode of transport. Perfect. I'm on board.
I have ridden a Segway, and that was as smooth as the Segway itself.
Wow. Where did you ride down? A stag do in Poland?
Yes, Czech Republic.
Was only joking.
No.
Can set your watch by it. What's the best world recreated in gaming that you've ever played? What was the title that made you
real world location?
Yes. What was the real world location that made you sit bolt upright in bed, turn to Mumsy and say, "I know you share a bed. That's fine. They know about that." I turn to Mumsy and say, "I've had an idea, Mumsy, for a show." She's like, "I'm so proud of you two. Where's Bobby?"
Got stickers on the fridge.
Isn't it time George took a break and it was Tom and Bobby? I was like, "Mumsy." Because I have to sleep tails because you two are the top there.
Okay.
Has that not bought you enough time?
No. I Project Gotham Racing 3, Edinburgh was very impressive.
They were incredible.
Yeah. And that was also, I didn't play it, but I watched a lot of videos of Bamburgh Castle featured in Forza Horizon 4. Having visited that and seeing it then put into a video game, I thought that was really cool.
That is cool.
Florence in Italy, I visited there and then played Assassin's Creed 2.
What? Is that when I picked you up from the airport with like the Bruce Wayne sign?
It is.
I never thought to ask at the time. I can't believe.
Do you still have your Ferrari one?
The black one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, that was a really nice trip. And then obviously Assassin's Creed 2 came out and it was set. It's not just set in Florence, is it? Just visit other Italian cities. I don't think I got that far in it, to be honest.
There's 3 games, isn't there, that you play as Ezio in Italy. Or in the 3rd one, you go to Constantinople or whatever we call it nowadays. Istanbul.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a good point. How did Florence in that game compare to? Could you go to Venice in the second one?
Obviously, it's got all the historical landmarks. The layout is slightly different, but I think you get wowed by the almost photorealistic graphics.
Well, at the time,
yeah,
it was new out. It probably looked better than anything else on the market at the time. And to be fair, I think we all thought during the 360 PS3 era that they were photorealistic.
Yeah.
Looking back, they probably look like chalk drawing. But I've recently played through that and I thought it was beautiful. I thought the recreation of Venice was good. I thought the recreation of Florence was good. I was especially enamoured by the recreation in the second of his games of Rome. I thought that was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And, you know, they could have dialed it in and played more to what we think of as Rome, as in more of the Colosseum and less of this and more of that. But what they did was they nailed Renaissance Rome absolutely right, because obviously ancient Rome was all tumbled down. There were some elements that people were living in.
Yeah.
There were some elements that were too fallen down for that. There were some buildings that I knew had been there in antiquity, but they were completely gone even by then. So I thought it's hard. It must be really hard to make a game based on a city that's ancient and then have what's old architecture to our eyes, even though it must have been new at the time, juxtaposed against the world of ancient Rome as well.
Yeah.
Really cool. Really, really cool. And the layout of that I thought was really quite good.
I think you can tell a lot of research has gone into their games of obviously like visiting the location, photo.
The only time that I've it's hard for us, really. I know it's a game. Let's preempt this by saying I know it's a game. But if Assassin's Creed 2 Florence was done with the same Don't get too mad, okay? Because I know there's a lot of people that like Valhalla, and I like Valhalla, but it's very light in terms of its representation of its English cities that it's chosen to represent.
Right. So there's not many of them, or there's not much detail in.
Kind of stuff's in the right place, but some of it's sort of, I know some of it's lifted from real world locations that they found, but some of the scale and the geography and other bits and bobs doesn't feel right. I know some people on the other podcasts that I do, the Aikido cast, which we haven't done for a while because we've had some key members away. But in there, someone was talking about, oh yeah, you know, Lincoln's not very good because it's not flat. And I'm thinking, we're sat in Lincoln recording this. We're halfway up a hill as it is.
Yeah.
There's nothing flat about the immediate vicinity of Lincoln. They've got the topography nailed.
Yeah.
But the distribution of the buildings down to the waters, we're getting lost in the reeds here. But I thought that it could have been better. Whereas maybe when you said you played Assassin's Creed 2 and you walked around Florence and things were kind of in the right place, but they kind of weren't.
It was probably a good 3 months after visiting there that it came out and I played it. But yeah, you could tell it wasn't like exact. But it had the vibe and the look and
I thought
the
that
history.
We talked about it at the top of the show. Microsoft Flight Simulator, absolutely nailing the real world creations. But again, if you want to nitpick, someone must have developed an algorithm for that. When they laid on the map of the world and said to the AI, if you see a regular shape, you will assume that is a building and you will elevate what you think you can see out of the ground to represent that building from the air.
Right.
Clever.
Yeah.
Very clever. Because who's got the patience to sit and model every individual village in the UK? They haven't.
Oh, yeah.
Or in the world.
Yeah.
So telling it to extrapolate, I'm sure, I don't know if this is how it's done. My gut feeling is they've told this AI algorithm, extrapolate from this up based on the size. If it's bigger than this, it's 2 stories. If it's bigger than that, it's 3 stories. If it's bigger than that, it's 4 stories. And then there must just be this algorithm that pulls the 3D structures out the ground.
So how accurate was Lincolnshire when you flew over it then?
The field shapes, colours and sizes are absolutely bang on. Obviously, because they're a photo.
Yeah.
All the villages are named. They've got these little drop icons, so you can sort of, as you swoop round, you see.
Yeah.
Obviously, it depends on the image that they're using. So on the image they're using is at least 5 years old.
Yeah.
So that means certain buildings aren't in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of work it out. But the lower you fly, the more the illusion is broken. The higher you fly, the better it is.
Yeah.
It's always been the same in flight sim games, but I wanted to see what they'd extrapolated from the ground based on what the aerial photo was. And it is impressive, but it's not absolutely bang on. But if you're flying above, especially in a jet and not a propeller-based plane, you're probably flying quick enough to be able to look down and go, oh my God, that looks real. Because for the most part, my goodness, it does. I don't want to steal your thunder, but I want another go.
You want another go? Okay, yeah.
Metropolis Street Racer. Don't hold out
Project Gotham, really.
No. By the time Gotham came out, doing stuff like that was 10 a penny. We've got True Crime Streets of LA. We've got all that other drivel. Okay, it was MSR and Getaway doing it right.
I had 2 more lined up. One was Last of Us Part 2 Seattle, which I think is quite nicely done, even though it's a completely like ruin and very. I just had a very cool.
What I think that allowed them
elevated feel to it, like with the bit where you go in on the horse with Ellie and Dina, and you're in that large open area. It just feels like it's got a lot more elevation and size and scope to it than one. I
was going to say it probably allowed them to be as free and easy as maybe they were with Assassin's Creed 2, without someone who'd just been on holiday to Florence going, well, that was not quite right. Yeah. Whereas you could go to Seattle, come back, play Last of Us 2, and it's so dilapidated
because it's crumbled
or whatever. You know, you're writing the story.
And Getaway, good shout.
MSR and the Getaway feel especially poignant to me because of the era they were done in, the fact that no one had ever really done anything like this before, and they just walked around and photoed every place and then scanned it into the game. When we had Mike Rouse on, the mighty Mike Rouse, obviously the Getaway came out after MSR, but the implementation of, because now in Spider-Man, I'm all over the place here with sort of points, but the latest Spider-Man game had to have the Chrysler Building stripped out because the Chrysler Building is actually an entity in its own right and is trademarkable. So Marvel and Insomniac had to pay money to the Chrysler Building to put it in the game. That's the first one, but they didn't ask permission the second time, so they just left it out.
Oh, really?
So it's not in Miles Morales.
I wouldn't have known if you hadn't said that.
Exactly. And that's probably what they thought.
Yeah.
For the amount of money that this place wants to put this in the game, no one actually cares enough.
The sad thing is, they'll probably get a little bit of, you might get some interest from people playing it and go, I want to visit that place.
Quite possibly.
But who knows?
Not in this world anymore. So MSR and the Getaway to me are even more impactful because they didn't, obviously in Spider-Man, you take a lot of the chains and you change them into something that's probably universe friendly or is the coffee place, you know, it's generic.
Yeah.
Whereas the Getaway and MSR, they had it all in and it looked really good for that reason. I also like the evolving real-time clock actually impacting on the not the weather in MSR, but certainly the time of day.
Yeah.
So the first time I ever played MSR, it was funny story, but I hurt my ankle. It launched. I went home one dinner time to play it, and then hurt my ankle on the way back and hurt it really badly and had to have a week off. So launch game comes out and I take the week off. Brilliant. Couldn't be happier. And the first time I ever played it was quite late on in the evening. And San Francisco, it was like 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
But in San Francisco, it was daytime. And that song, Don't Hold Out for My Return, came on, which we waxed lyrical on the Discord about. It's like one of my favourite video game songs. Is utter trash. But for me, I never felt so grown up and cutting edge. And I was thinking this, and I had a bath the other day. I don't know why I decided to think about this in the bath. But Metropolis Street Racer, I was thinking to myself, do you know what? Since the Dreamcast came out, I've been chasing this fix of feeling as on top of gaming as I did then. I knew all the stuff that was coming out. All the games had sort of genuine interest to me. When I got hold of the games, they felt so cutting edge and fresh, and the whole aesthetic of the Dreamcast, the look of the magazine, the colour of the PAL boxes, which I know are a legacy of hatred now, but I think the blue and the box art works really well. It looks nice.
Yeah.
And I never had a feeling of being so cutting edge as when the Dreamcast came out. The magazine was like a combination between FHM and a games magazine. It all just felt so grown up. Yeah. And to maybe a young 21-year-old trying to find his place in the world who was living in his own place and all that, and probably finally found like, now I've got a grown-ups game machine and I'm a grown-up and I'm buying these games when they come out. That sort of drivel.
Yeah.
Obviously, since then, I just get games and play them on a console. But there was this, that's why the Dreamcast as well.
Experience.
The whole experience is one that's sort of, and it was a happy time for me in my life at the time. So that console didn't really get burnt with bad memories or anything like that. It was all just very carefree days. That's not really telling you a real life location. I think what we should do is you read out the first comment, because every week we say to the fans, here is a topic that we want to hear your opinion on. We put it on the Instagram, we put it on the Twitter, we put it on the Discord, and they all say, oh yeah, I remember playing Space Invaders back in the day at Skegness Arcade. Whatever it is that they're going to tell us, whatever they're going to say. Harvard Retro is about to tell me that Space Invaders is the best real world recreated location. Now I'm going to shrivel up and die. Yeah, so we ask your opinion, we read it out on the show. Guess what? You just got Insta famous.
Absolutely.
Who's the first person from that list?
And the first person is Harvey Retro.
Someone think I even wrote a script for this show.
You would think so.
Oh, God.
Harvey Retro always loved playing the real world parks in Roller Coaster Tycoon, particularly Alton Towers and the American Adventure. What a park that was. Because I visited those two so much as a child. the American adventure seems like part of an ancient mythology to a lot of people now.
Yes.
Now there's nothing left of it. People who missed out and are interested in 80s and 90s nostalgia gather around to hear tales about my trips to that place, it seems. Also found the ruined Washington, D.C. and Fallout 3 pretty haunting.
This is a nice shout out for Fallout 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going back to his point there, I did actually, obviously, when you comment on topics for the show, I'm always going to wheel in and have my thoughts on stuff. And I actually thought it was quite left field of him to pick that, because the recreation of Alton Towers in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, I think it is, it's on the Xbox, is, or is it 1? I forget now. Anyway, it's fantastic. Considering the palette they've got to play with and the game, the actual recreation is fantastic.
Next up is Finster Gamer.
No. That's why I'm paid the big bucks. That's why you are paid the big bucks. There's absolutely no doubt about it. That's why you're the Premiership MVP.
Finster Gamer says, the Assassin's Creed games have always been great for this, and you not only get to visit real-world historical locations, but get to witness them imagined in their prime. It's a good point, isn't it? It's almost like...
with the Elgin marbles still on it.
Yeah. Just sort of seeing that, like even the marketplaces and stuff, and it must be exciting for...
Segue, because do you know what? You know I like history. What's your thoughts on the Elgin marbles?
No idea.
You don't know what they are?
Explain to me.
The Acropolis in Athens. When you close your eyes and think of ancient Greece,
yes,
you imagine the Acropolis on the mountain.
Yeah.
And they had it had a frieze all the way around in marble.
Yeah.
Now, there's some controversy here, because there was a Lord Elgin from the UK was on the Grand Tour. You know, in the 1800s, he used to go on these grand tours.
Is that the composer, Elgin?
No.
Right.
Someone else. He might be related to him, I'm not sure. You're teaching me now. Anyway, he went round, saw these, and he got permission, because it was under the, at the time, I think it was under the Turkish Empire, Ottoman Empire. He got permission from the Sultan or whoever it was to make drawings and copies of these marbles. Yeah, that's fine. Although no one could find the paperwork. Now, there was two stories. One is that ancient or modern Rome was using ancient Rome as its sort of source for lime for buildings. They would take a great big statue, they would burn it until it turned to dust.
Okay.
Then they would mix that in with their more modern cement, and they would build with it.
Right.
They had no interest in archaeology or ancient times or anything.
Okay.
So some allege that Elgin rocked up to the Acropolis, said, they're pretty awesome, they are, I'm having them. And he took them without permission.
Right.
There's also another story. Now, this is why I should do a history podcast. There's also another story that while he was touring Athens, he stumbled across a lime kiln. And lined up, ready to go in the lime kiln, was half of the Acropolis's friezes, aka what's now known as the Elgin marbles, named after the guy that saved it.
So they're like a mould of...
Well, someone had chiseled this.
Yeah.
And then they'd been took down.
Yeah.
And they were now going to get melted.
Yeah.
So there's two stories. One, he came in, saw it, and thought, yeah, I'm having that. The second story is that he was touring the lime works and saw all this frieze and was like, you really shouldn't be doing this to this.
Oh, and then took them from there.
And then thought, I'll take these, because obviously they've got no idea what they are. I know what they are. I'm having them. Did you know, even better than that, now this is real world video game locations like you've never known. Once he had got them out, he sailed them to the UK. Unfortunately, there was a storm and they sank. So the Elgin marbles in the British Museum have had a very interesting past. He then had to spend 3 times as much as he had paid originally and to ship them for divers in the 1800s. So you can imagine this was edgy. They finally managed to retrieve them. He arrived to the British government, and there'd been all sorts of drama while he'd been away about Greece saying you've stolen these, and blah, blah, blah. And the UK government had been like, actually, we're on the side of this guy. We're all good, but we'll buy him for the UK. We'll do it right. When he arrived and said how much he'd spent buying them, pulling them up from the ground, they were like, we can't afford that. We'll give you half. He was so debt-ridden he had to agree.
Bad trip for him. And very interesting.
Yeah, well, he's got his name famous now. Do you think I should
say fact? It could be fact for one of the stories or the other.
Do you think we should just do a history show now?
I don't know. I think you should do that.
I'm
only here for a one-off anyway. Just cash on the hip, We spent it tomorrow.
You know Dastardly Darren, your new agent.
Yeah.
Wow. I was doing it all wrong before it told me. You see, he said you don't engage with the client, George.
Oh.
Lord Ponsonbury, as you are now known.
The 6th.
Or whatever.
Or the 5th. We're not sure yet.
He said, no. You engage with me, and then I engage with the client. And then the client does what I tell him to do. And I was like, well, in that case, I want to sign him up for a 10-year contract to co-host an official controller podcast. He said, well, that's going to cost you a fair bit, George. I said, don't worry.
I haven't seen any extra money.
There isn't any.
Dastardly by name, dastardly by nature.
He's doing all right out of it. If you
He
need
is.
him, he's in Acapulco.
Okay.
What's next?
We need to finish Finster Gamers comment.
I'm sorry, Finster, but I can't see Acropolis and not go on a rant about the Elgin Marbles.
After Acropolis in Athens, he goes on to say, one of my favourite game series is The Division, and the level of detail that has gone into recreating New York and Washington is mind-blowing.
Agreed.
There is nothing like fighting your way through the Air and Space Museum or engaging in a firefight on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial.
Is The Division a better recreation of New York than Spider-Man?
I've played more Spider-Man than I have The Division.
There's a sense of scale. Sometimes in Spider-Man, when you're on the
I would say
ground
it feels
level,
quite small in Spider-Man.
Because
you can traverse so fast.
Yes, I think that's the point I'm saying. The scale's doesn't quite match the ambition of you as a person. Whereas in The Division, it's a lot slower. It's the camera's down low. You know you're never going to be able to get up there.
Yeah.
So the scale of the buildings, you're looking up to them more.
That's how I felt when I was playing Last of Us Part 2, especially with the bit with Abby where you're up on the skyscrapers or the sky path or whatever they call it.
Oh,
remember that bit? That was really well done.
Yeah.
Very well. And not talked about a lot in the reviews, really. I thought I probably don't want to spoil it.
No, don't.
No, I was saying that I don't think people wanted to spoil it in the original reviews because it wasn't mentioned much, but it was a high point in that game.
Definitely.
Do you want to take the next one?
Yeah, my son, the person, a listener, I've adopted a listener. As if this show couldn't get any more bizarre, I adopt a listener as my son and heir, which makes him the heir apparent to the Ponsonbury estate. I need to check with the peerage whether he'd qualify to be the 8th Lord Ponsonbury. Probably not, because he was born out of wedlock. But we'll have to do we'll have to do the digging. Ginger's Game Room, for all those that are unaware, he said, I agree with Finster Gamer. This is why Tom stepped into in the big book, because I'd read this out first. The AC games are epic when it comes to this. My favourite is Odyssey, set in ancient Greece. He swears a bit here, but I'm going to leave it in because it's PG swears. Bloody brilliant, he says. Also love New York in the new Spider-Man games. And he's done what can only be described as the well-known OK hand emoji.
You better take the next one as well. It's targeted at you.
If I read this out, I'm not reading another thing in this show. It's C Pleskin. Thanks for reaching out. Looks like he had a panic. He says, Georgie boy, smiling with teeth gritted emoji X2. You hadn't been worried this past week thinking the show was cancelled. Sweating with emoji. Don't worry. Don't worry. We wouldn't cancel the show of this magnitude without saying so. We don't just disappear. We fade away, embarrassingly. Sadly, I cannot say that I've been to any specific locations, any games I've played myself. So instead, for a little variety, allow me to mention a series that takes just as many liberties with its fictional worlds as it does with accuracy. And surprisingly, it's not Assassin's Creed, but more rather, for variety, Sid Meier's Civilization, and specifically its most recent entry, Civilization 6. Now, I actually have a bit of a brief history with this franchise, way back near the start of the PlayStation 3 in its latest iteration. Civilization Revolution. It's a game I've played the wheels off. Alongside many of the PS3 games that playable as demos downloaded to my brother's system, like Dead Space, which I'm dreading playing the remake of. Screaming with a blue head emoji. I didn't get RTS games back then, but when I did play, what I did play interested me. Right before I went to replay the demo for Star Wars The Force Unleashed again. It wasn't until... Where are we going with this? It was... It's an experience in itself, a C-Pleskin comment. Come with me on this wild journey. It wasn't until the Switch release of 6 did I properly return to the series to lead some mostly accurate historic takes of the great rulers of Japan, America, and Britain, including finding the Great Barrier Reef near the Antarctic Ocean, convincing writers like Joyce and Will to visit Kyoto and play in the UK, who won't try and conquer and or murder half the globe. It's by far one of the least accurate games based on real history or locations, but it makes up for it with its enticing multi-management system, cooling music as it evolves through the years, and getting that all-important science or cultural victory you've been working on for 500 terms. Victory by death or nothing else. After you alter the game's rules, of course, it may not encourage you or use famous cities in its formula as much as you think it might, but it's still one of the best games you can spend an entire day playing for its strategy and evolving atmosphere. Other options would be likely New York for Spider-Man PS4 or Venice from AC2. Both of them have already had a good mention, both of which I do want to eventually visit at some point, though heads up for people trying to be prepared to spend hours without realizing it. It's one of those time sink games. Happens a lot, sadly. Laughing till he cries out of both eyes emoji.
Yeah. Civilization, we played a bit of that back in the day.
Civ Rev. Yeah. It was Christmas time. I had another playthrough of Civ Rev. I don't know why, but at the time I did find it kind of challenging.
It's a tough game.
Waltzed through it.
Oh, did you?
Like a knife through butter. I do not know why. Maybe I was overthinking it before. Maybe I was trying to get... I always find with Civilization, I get sort of attached to a certain military era or style and want to have... I double down on it too much. Like I want to have a fleet of men of wars. And by the time I've got a fleet of men of wars, Japan rolls up with an aircraft carrier.
and sinks
it
goes.
And I'm like trying to make sure that I've got the right fleet by the right time and I've got the right land forces to do this. And yeah, it never works out like that for me, sadly. So this time I just played it as though it was a game.
Yeah.
And blitzed it.
Next up, we've got Batmull. I thought that the shrunken down version of the USA and the crew was great. It had a lot of the main big cities that obviously weren't to scale, but it still felt like everything was there. Plus, you could drive from New York to LA, which didn't still take ages to do. So there was still kind of the element of the vastness of the states. Honorable mention to the new Microsoft Flight Sim, which we've discussed, which I put a bunch of hours in already, as having the entire planet to scale is ridiculous. I've flown over my city and found my house. Actually discovered places in the game I now want to visit in real life.
There you go, Batmull, giving us another take on the flight sim.
Could it be considered a spyware?
No.
I'm surprised the government haven't labelled some kind of terrorist threat on it, saying they could scope out.
Well, it's alleged that the 9/11 bombers used Microsoft Flight Simulator to hone their skills. True story.
RIP to all involved, but I won't say it would require a lot of skill to do what they did. Although I suppose they took control of the plane for a while.
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah.
I'm not glorifying it. I'm just saying
no.
One of Microsoft Flight Simulator's rather shady claims to fame is the fact that obviously it is a very realistic flight simulator. So Naderwell's obviously used it in the planning. And at the time probably had for the era a pretty... Because Microsoft Flight Simulator back in the day didn't do what it does now, where it tries to extrapolate scenery for everywhere.
Yeah.
They focused on major towns and cities, and you could buy city packs. I remember going into PC World or something, and you'd see the Microsoft Flight Simulator forest and lakes add-on and the cities add-on. And then there was like a CD-ROM version that could load up more stuff and all that sort of ramble. So, yeah. Who's next?
Digital Monkery.
What does this character have to say for himself?
Well, I think my answer will be no surprise at all to anyone in the Discord.
Hang on. Digital Monkery. I don't know if you know this, even though messaging every week, he's a... Get your hands out. I don't know if you know what this is. He's a new listener. Was this in the show before?
Yes.
Oh, you just wanted to forget
his comment out before.
You have.
But he's got a new listener.
It's one of the perks. It's one of his perks.
Okay.
You pay the money, you get the perks.
We're charging that.
No, but me and him enter into an escort sort of kind of relationship, really.
Deal.
Yeah.
Or no deal.
It's always deal.
All right. Okay.
I feel a little down in the mouth from all the pillows I've bitten.
You need to be more Noel Edmonds, don't you? Instead of Noel's house party.
How was being Noel Edmonds different from being Noel Edmonds' house party?
That was a bit more crazy, wasn't it?
Oh,
Blobby and
yeah.
other things.
Sounds like Series 1 of this show.
Yeah. If you want a comparison to Series 1 of this show, go watch Noel Edmonds' House
It's
Party.
on YouTube.
Crinkly Bottom.
Tell me what the new listener, Digital Monkery, has to say. He's got no patience now.
He says, well, I think my answer will be no surprise at all to anyone in the Discord. Assassin's Creed Valhalla hooked me with its visuals and felt a little bit more special as it included places I knew and had been to. Also made a bit more of an effort to see some of the historic sites local to me since I've started playing it. Also enjoy the condensed UK and Forza Horizon 4. Yeah, big shout out to that. While I've been on Valhalla, my uncle has been on Watch Dogs Legions. He liked the recreation of London and happily entertains himself just shaking a leisurely stroll around the city.
My guy.
That is the sort of stuff you do.
Yeah.
Stopping occasionally to let me know that he just passed an old client's office or some other place that has significance to him, but holds no real relevance to me.
Digital Monkery's uncle.
I imagine that
if he's listening,
like you telling me that you've visited this location in a game, and I'm like, I have no idea what he's talking about.
Get Digital Monkery. Your uncle needs to listen. He's now, I don't know, he's now number one legend on the show, to be honest. He played games like me.
I'll take another one. The 16-bit prick. I'll probably be a bit biased with this one because both of these games had locations I actually live in, and that's got the Project Gotham Racing and Forza Horizon 4. They both captured Edinburgh brilliantly. Of course, they both took some liberties with roads joining up with other roads that are at the opposite ends of the town. But still, it was amazing to see, especially in PGR, because it was the first time I'd seen Edinburgh game.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, good point.
And it looked good in that.
Apart from them two, I maybe give it to Medal of Honor Frontlines for the first section of the game on the beaches in Normandy. That section blew my mind back in the day. Fantastic game too.
I think it blew everyone's mind back in the day.
It did. Absolutely.
Now, no.
We've discussed it before, haven't we?
Yeah.
D-Day taken with 5 men.
5, sometimes 3.
Depending on what console you got it on. Or PC. Roast Space Monk. I'm going to sound like a broken record here by talking about Shenmue again, but I played Shenmue specifically, the first one, so many times that I felt like I actually lived in Yokosuka. Felt like I was living in a community with people going about their daily lives. I was absolutely love to visit Japan one day and go to Yokosuka and take a stroll down Dobita Street.
Don't do it. You'll ruin it for yourself. And I'm sure they did a good job, but I don't know, you kind of never...
It would have changed a little bit as well.
Exactly. It was set in the 80s, and that game was made in the 90s, and it's now 2021, so there's technically 40 years have passed since that game.
Do you want to take the last two?
I will, yes. I even have a piece of script. Now I'm Lord Ponsonbury, I get one of these. The Gaming Grams got in touch. He says, Assassin's Creed Syndicate did a beautiful job of recreating Victorian London. I love walking around the dark, foggy, cobbled streets in that game while looking out for landmarks. They even included a side quest about 50 Berkeley Square. That place has really creepy history to it in real life, which I thought showed just how detailed the game was, considering it's a place not too many people know about. Have I ever visited London in the 1860s? Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, that was a bit before my time. But as a London-born boy from a family of East Londoners, I know it well. In terms of places I've been to, I thought Spider-Man on the PS4 did a beautiful job of recreating New York, at least how I imagine it to be. Anyway, I had so much fun swinging from skyscraper to skyscraper in that game. Okay. I have another honourable mention in Assassin's Creed Unity, which I thought not only looked amazing, but I actually felt was one of the more believable places that they'd created for an Assassin's Creed game. Back to Syndicate. It was good. It didn't scratch my itch necessarily, but I know you really fell in love with that. And then Spider-Man getting another mention.
Yeah, so going off the comments, Spider-Man seems to be the most popular, really. New York's been done a lot in video games.
Yeah, I just want, is it popular because it's the most fun game, or is it popular because it's the best representation of New York in a video game ever?
Probably is, in terms of
all of what it has to offer. Well, while you muse on that, we have a new listener. Logan Beck's got in touch and he says, "Dang, that's really hard, but I think Assassin's Creed is a man of extreme taste. Unity's recreation of 1780s/90s Paris is absolutely outstanding." Have you played that?
No, has it got like the guillotines and all that going on?
Let me tell you now, it really is. It's retro to you now, so you'll not play it. But let me tell you now, it really is a great game. That is. With that all said and done, what has he been up to this week? The legend, the man, the myth, Stingray.
Well, he's getting Mr. Doughty to paint you an oil painting of yourself. It was meant to be a surprise, but I'm just waiting on the legitimacy of
Ray's involved in my picture that will be hung in Pontybury Estate Manor.
He's doing the frame.
Which one's doing the frame?
Doughty's doing the painting.
Malcolm Doughty.
M. Doughty. Can't say his name.
It's Malcolm. It's Malcolm. Okay. Malcolm's been the family painter for a long time.
He has, yeah.
But he doesn't normally do people and faces.
Yeah.
He does landscapes. And I'm concerned
he would do a special portrait.
Okay. I'm looking forward to how Stingrayified that's going to be. It's probably going to look like a Banksy. Anyway, to those that know the format of the show, it's time for a peek in what we affectionately call Stingray's boot, what's nestled between some counterfeit nappies and a dodgy copy of Battlefriend all this week. These are the new release highlights for the week August 9th to August 15th, 2021. Listeners, these are out on digital or physical, or will be by the time this podcast is in your feed, but could be. Listen in, listeners. They could be region dependent. Who, what, when, where, how? Have you picked Mummy?
Oh, yeah.
You have?
I have actually got it all as well. Exciting times.
Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first.
Okay, because the second one is my Mummy.
That would be good if I go first.
Go on then.
Glyph on PC, August 9th. Glyph's gameplay combines breathtaking aerial maneuvers with tranquil exploration in stunning 3D platforming experience. Add a mesmerizing original soundscape, and Glyph is lifting you up and whisking you away.
Here's my Mummy. Lawn mowing simulator for the PC and Xbox Series X. It's on Games Pass. If you ain't got any money in your back pocket and you've already forward paid on Games Pass, guess what? New game came out today. Experience the beauty and detail of mowing the Great British countryside in Lawn Mowing Simulator, the only simulator that allows you to ride an authentic and expansive roster of real-world licensed farm lawnmowers from prestigious manufacturers Toro, Skag, and Steiger as you manage your business.
It is amazing how different human beings are, isn't it? Like, there's people who will absolutely love that, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's people who love big fantasy style games.
Weirdos. If it ain't Lawnmower Simulator from now on, you're dead to me.
But no, it is. It's cool that everything. There's a lid for every hop.
In a way, there always was. There used to be this sort of discount rack in PC World and Morrison's. You know, one of those racks with all the ones on, you'd spin it round. And Morrison's and PC World had this sort of budget rack. And that's the place where you used to find games originally. Like, I remember finding Farming Simulator for old PC on that rack. I remember finding thing like Truck Simulator and be like, crikey, what's that like? And Horse Surgeon Simulator and all sorts of weird stuff. Sailing Simulator. That's where they all came. Now they're mainstream.
Yeah.
It beggars belief. I used to have to hide my Farming Simulator medals.
Fetish.
Yeah. Fetish is a strong word. It's probably the right one, but it's awful strong. What else you got?
I've got Glitch Punk on the PC, August 11th. Inspired by classic top-down action adventure game, Glitch Punk lets you brawl, shoot, and drive your way through a dystopian future as an android bounty hunter in a brutal world of gangs, cults, and corporations. There's plenty of work for you. Lock and load, let her rip.
Okay, well, The second game that I'm reading out, Foreclosed on the PC. My God. It's not a lot of Foreclosed on the PC, the PS5, the Xbox Series X, the PS4, the Xbox One, the Switch, and the Stadia. Comes out on August 12th. Foreclosed is not a game, as you might think, about taking over properties that people have not paid for. No. Foreclosed is a narrative-driven action adventure set in a cyberpunk world. Load of studios weighed down. Cyberpunk's going to be huge. Cyberpunk 2077 will be the biggest game of all time. We need to get these games out in line with it so we can be their Dante's Inferno to our violent firework volcano peak. You know what I'm saying? Jurassic Park to my Jurassic Killer. Foreclosed is a narrative-driven action adventure set in cyberpunk world filled with action, suspense, and experimental augmentations. Follow the story of Evan Kapnos in this sleek comic book-styled game as he unravels the conspiracy behind his identity foreclosure. Who was responsible, and more importantly, why?
Next up, we've got Naraka Blade Point PC. Naraka Blade Point is a 60-player action battle royale offering players insane mobility powered by parkour and grappling hooks, a vast arsenal of melee and ranged weapons, and a roster of characters with powerful abilities. Transform yourself into gigantic Vajar warrior and crush your enemies.
Okay. Sounds like a boy who's picked up his year 7 biology handbook and got a little bit freaked out by the Vajar warrior crushing its enemies. Oko on the PC August 12th. Immerse yourself in the minimalist audio visual Do you know, if they persevered to this point in time, they probably had a giggle at that point.
I hope so.
The visual platforming world of Oko. Solve fast-paced platforming puzzles, create and share your own designs, join the Oko community and compete to top the global leaderboards. There's a strange feeling in the studio today. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's one of comfortable. I don't know.
Here's my mummy.
Oh, of course.
Xbox Series X, PS4, PS5, and Xbox One. Defy the god of the dead as he hack and slash out of the underworld in this rogue dungeon crawler. Stingray, we've got another roguelike.
Every week he brings us one. Admittedly, this is a high caliber one, but
this is the game of the year.
Oh, okay.
Caliber dungeon crawler from the creators of Bastion. Great game. We played that. Transistor and Pyre. I've not played the other two.
I think the other two are actually slightly better games than Bastion. That's strong.
That's great.
Well, there you go. Maybe you should go home and check out Transistor before you buy yourself a copy of Hades. Talk about
this shovelware.
You wash your mouth out with soap. You previously mentioned Hades as Game of the Year. I one-up you, sir. Here's Paw Patrol Adventure City Calls on the PC, the PS4 and Xbox One and Switch out August 13th. Big city, bigger adventure. The Paw Patrol must save Adventure City from Mayor Humdinger's selfish scheming, and they need you on Team Pawsome. Last one's for you, friend. Give us your everything.
Shadowverse Champions Battle on the Switch, August 13th. 4 million battles every day. One Shadowverse. Japan's #1 strategic card game. Made by card gamers, for card gamers.
If you weren't a card gamer, with him gone or leaving, it's the only time for me to say to you, watch your 80s movie. What's your VHS rental? You forgot about this part of the show.
My VHS rental is a 90s documentary on Channel 4 called The Effing Fulfords. It inspired a lot of Ponsonbury law. Go check it out.
No, don't, because then, we could recycle it. We probably already have, knowing you.
Yeah.
I've written a great script, George.
No, it's only very loosely based.
Only very, very loosely. Okay, my VHS is Under Siege 2. I feel like I've had this recently.
Oh, great.
Let me put it back.
It's poor compared to 1. But
1 is really the sum of its parts. It really is a great film. 2...
Tommy Lee Jones is in it. What's the other guy? Gary Busey is in it.
Tommy Lee Jones is really good in that, especially when he gets a screwdriver embedded in his head. Is it a screwdriver or is it a dagger?
They have a knife fight, don't
Oh, of
He's
course.
like-
Oh, that knife fight's hilarious. Oh my god! When they
Have
do
you seen
the
a lot of this South Park Steven Seagal stuff? It's savage. It's savage.
that's a shame.
Or there's the clip of him running.
I'm impressed by the fact that he gets shot while in the water, yet still manages to put that bomb thing on, and then still manages to pull himself out of the water all the way up to the rear deck, which must be two stories.
Some of them great Saturday Night Actually Reliant. Goddamn cooks, seal! Pulls the knife out of the wall, and he's like, cooking knives! And they're just like the proper like throwing knives, and then he's like, throws a bomb in the microwave. It's just great.
He does. That's telegraphed a while back. Well, with us seemingly picking our film, we're happy. The only thing left for me to do before we can call time on this show we call A Corpse, that's the universal suggestion for wiping your throat with a thumb. Don't know why you want me to do that. As I asked Tom, what are you hoping to play?
I'm hoping to play Hades. Should it arrive on time and install it? I can't imagine it being a massive.
You gone physical, pal, have you?
I have, yeah. I thought I'd treat myself.
Wow.
I did that a lot back in the day, and I feel like if I'd have kept some of these physical games, they'd probably been worth quite a bit of money. I'd definitely had some cube games that were considered pretty rare now. So, it's hard because you, at a younger age, you trade. I still do to some extent trade to replace something new. But
even in the PS4 generation, when I first got mine, I found myself in game more out of habit than actual need, trading stuff. I know.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why I was doing that. I was just like, I built to clear some space. And then I think it was at that point it kind of clicked. I was like, well, I don't actually, what am I doing? I just keep it. They didn't give me 50p for it. I'm not going to give them. I'm going to give them the
I tended to
satisfaction.
I tended to try and get rid of mine before they reach that point of like where I'm going to get a reasonable amount of money for them. The Switch games I traded in to get the PS5 brought in a healthy bounty. Probably regret that one day as well.
I wonder how it feels to be Nintendo, because you get to sell a game and a console once, while every other brick and mortar store gets to dine out on your product infinite times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can see why PlayStation pushed Xbox and PlayStation both wanted to push you play a game, then it's locked to that console and you can't trade it or sell it. I think it'd be sad, and obviously we've had that discussion before.
Well, that was a very controversial E3, wasn't it? And it was kind of like it kind of decided a few things rightly or wrongly at the time. What am I hoping to play this week? I don't know why, but I hope to give MSR a bit of a rundown. I just want to have a little play on it, for old time's sake, and the fact it's the game of the month for the Discord. And I also recently picked up Medal of Honor Airborne, which came out around the same time as COD 3. Look at your face. It's like, why are you talking to me in Swahili? Well, little did you know you could speak Swahili. But I missed that game because we were well and firmly at the time embedded on the COD train. And a friend of mine bought it. And he said, actually, it's better than COD. Actually, it's as good as Brothers in Arms.
That's a bold claim. Brothers in Arms is an excellent game.
There's a man whose opinion on Brothers in Arms was strong. His opinion on COD was okay. His opinion on Medal of Honor Airborne was it's really good. Because before Fortnite came out, you jump out of the aeroplane and you choose your landing zone.
Oh, really?
Yes. So you can choose, I think when you come out, you can land anywhere, but there's like a red zone and a green zone and another zone. Red zone is really hot, but the stuff in green zone, you can land there and your other troops are going to land near you and you can reform a unit.
Disguising difficulty in a video game.
Agreed. Yeah. And he said it was thoroughly enjoyable. And where you landed had an effect on how it played out, different every time.
Wow.
So he said it was good. Now, we're talking people's opinions from 2008, because it's quite an old game now.
It is.
But I'm interested in seeing it happen. Do you have any more to tell me, or is it all Hades?
Yeah, that's it. That's what I'll be playing. Oh, I re-downloaded Last of Us Part 2. Because I had the PS5 60 frames update and a while back, and I thought I'll carry on playing my.
I actually have a guilty confession. One of the things I've been spending quite a lot of time doing is stalking, collecting, and cataloguing UMD films.
Can't be that many to own.
It's getting out of control
Okay.
quickly. I've just managed to upgrade.
Shall I call the builders? Build more space.
Ask the staff to come in, take all the books out of the library, and then put the games on the library shelves.
Some of them ask to borrow books, though, to read in their quarters.
As long as they leave a note on the side of the book they've taken and when, they can take whatever they want.
Excellent.
On that note, one would imagine that's probably all we have time for this week, listeners. We look forward to the pleasure of speaking to you again next week. Until then, happy gaming, and remember, there's nothing wrong. That's right. Absolutely nothing wrong with being given the unofficial controller. It's what you do with it that counts. See you, Tom.
See ya.